Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining day 4 of the Pan. Welcome everyone, thank you for joining day 4 of the Pan Cheshire Icon Week. Infant crying is normal, comforting methods can help. It is okay to walk away, never ever shake a baby. I'm here today with my colleagues Janice Bleasdale, who is our Child Death Overview Panel Nurse Specialist in Cheshire CCG. And I'm also here with Liz Thompson, who's our named midwife from Leighton Hospital in Crewe. My name is Ruth Tucker and I'm Deputy Designated Safeguarding Children's Nurse for NHS Cheshire CCG. ICON has been implemented. I'm part of a steering group, as are Janice and Liz, in Cheshire, and we've been implementing ICON for the last 18 months. We have a multi-agency steering group, which is really important, and I'm hoping that when we revisit and recap the slides, that you will all recognise the input any agency can have with regards to ICON and the importance of repeating those messages to parents so that we hopefully prevent abusive head trauma. As we say, ICON is a programme developed to help support and prevent what is described as the normal peak in crying during the first 3 months of a baby's life to prevent abusive head trauma, also known as shaken baby syndrome. Today, my colleagues and I are going to discuss the O acronym within ICON, which is It's Okay to Walk Away. Next slide, please, Gina. O is a very important part of the ICON programme, where safety to prevent parents from crossing that line and also safety of baby when leaving a baby are essential. Liz will be talking us through how this can be discussed and approached with parents, but I thought beforehand we need to recap on what our colleagues have said at the beginning of the week around what abusive head trauma is and about the ICON messages. Abusive head trauma is abuse and is preventable. At the beginning of the week, we had an informative introduction from Dr. Suzanne Smith, who is the founder of the ICON programme in England since 2016. Suzanne explained to us the background of the programme and, by introducing the programme, emphasised the message that ICON is a preventable programme that helps parents with the consistent message and information about how to prevent them crossing over that line when crying becomes a very traumatic sort of experience for them. The key messages from Suzanne as regarding ICON were that crying is a known trigger. We know that crying can be very distressing. Anybody who's had children knows that crying, consistent crying, can become very distressing. We know that 70% of babies who are shaken by men. Again, giving us that message about how we deliver and making sure that dads are included in the messages that we give. As mentioned, our goal for ICON is to communicate to parents what they can expect with regards to crying, how they can prepare for it, and more importantly, how to cope with it. Our target with introducing ICON is to reduce the incidence of abusive head trauma triggered by crying. Next slide, please, Gina. So the ICON message is around, on Tuesday, Janice and myself and colleagues talked about infant crying and that it's normal, and to get that message across to parents that it will stop. Babies do cry frequently from 2 weeks of age, and it peaks around 8 weeks, where it gradually reduces, and we'll just recap on the crying curve in a minute. Yesterday, our colleague from Holton talked about comfort methods, about how to soothe and comfort your baby. And again, we will recap on those a bit later. And as I said, today we are going to talk about the okay to walk away and how you can keep your baby safe when crying is getting to you. And tomorrow we're going to conclude the week by talking about the impact of shaking your baby. Next slide, please, Gina. The normal crying curve that Janice and myself talked about on Tuesday is a very good visual reminder to parents about the normal crying period that children have. It's important that we recap on this graph because it helps you to, when you're delivering the ICON programme, to show to parents that during this period of time it is normal for babies to cry. We're looking 2 weeks is quite a significant time, peaking at around 2 months, as you can see here, where children can cry up to 5 to 6 hours, and then there's a decline as we get to 4 to 5 months. As Janice suggested, in a practical way, having this available to discuss with parents is a really good visual aid to how you describe the crying curve. And I think that this normalises crying for parents and helps them to see that their baby is no different. Next slide, please. Yesterday, our colleague discussed comfort. We know that babies cry as a way of communication with parents, and sometimes it's because they're hungry, they're in pain, they just need that close comfort. And those are the things that we recommend to parents to help soothe their baby, and sometimes it helps to prevent the crying continuing. However, when they've tried all these efforts to support the baby, it may be necessary to look at how we then support parents to actually be safe and be safe with their baby, and to not, as we said before, to cross that line. We do very much emphasise to parents as part of the programme that being responsive to your baby and being timely in your response is very important. This is how babies learn to manage their emotions, and we do need to re-emphasize that to parents, that this is a communication with their baby, and these methods of soothing their babies is the first thing to try when your baby cries. But it's when it becomes that crisis point, and as Suzanne clearly pointed out at the beginning of the week, when parents feel that they are going to step over that line, as to how we support them to actually, as I say, keep themselves and their baby safe. Today's presentation is focused on safety and how to support parents, and I'm going to pass you over now to my colleague Liz to talk about how parents can prepare themselves, and we can support them to prepare themselves, that when that crying does become distressing to them, what they can do. Thank you, Liz. Next slide, Gina.
Good afternoon, everybody. Parents need to be informed and encouraged how to have support systems in place to anticipate when babies are crying and when they have episodes of prolonged crying. Also, we need to be aware of infants that have additional needs, for example, babies that are preterm with a disability or suffering from some sort of withdrawal. We do need to make sure parents know that they may cry, have longer periods of crying. What we try and do from a maternity point of view is we speak to all our mothers in the antenatal period. There's a way of letting them know that of an expectation that babies are crying, going back to what Ruth has just discussed in the crying curve. What parents need to know is that all babies cry. It's a way of letting us know they need something. New parents and carers need to get to know the baby. I've in the past spoken to parents, when sometimes you see that a mother's quite distressed with a crying baby, that actually you're strangers with one another, and you need a period of getting to know one another. Once you get to know one another, you get to understand more reasons why your baby's crying, and how you can comfort the baby and address the needs for crying. Reasons for babies crying can range from babies that they may be hungry. We may have babies that are in pain. Sometimes babies can be overstimulated. They may be bored, they may feel lonely, they may be too hot, they may be too cold. Sometimes bathing a baby, they can become distressed because they don't actually like being bathed. There are also physical reasons why your baby may be crying. It may be that they're intolerant to cow's milk, or they've got gastro influx. These things are normal things to think about. What we need to be aware of is that research has shown us that sometimes babies will cry for no reason at all, and there's nothing more that we can do apart from comfort the babies. I won't repeat what Ruth said about the comfort methods, but they are things that we do have to remember. Can I have next slide, please? Whether or not there is a reason for the baby to cry, we know it can be upsetting and frustrating and sometimes distressing for parents. The crying can really get to parents and carers, and it could sound worse if you're already under pressure and stress for other reasons. And we're all very aware at the minute with what COVID and stresses, additional stresses COVID has brought to us all as a population. These feelings are normal, that sometimes you can feel that you are feeling frustrated, and that sometimes it's very hard to overcome these feelings. If you're finding it hard to get over these feelings, we really do recommend that people get, parents and carers get support, and it's normal, and parents and carers will not be criticised if they're asking for help. It's not a negative, it won't be viewed as a negative action. If you've checked that your baby's okay and you've met and the needs have all been met and tried the comforted methods, and you feel that they haven't worked and your baby may just carry on crying, it may mean they're in distress, and that distress can then just add to yours. When these things happen, and they will, it's really important that you have a coping mechanism of when these for this. Sorry, I've just lost my thread. Can I have the next slide, please? So what we've got is the coping with my personal ICON plan, which is explanatory there for yourself with comfort methods. I've used this with my daughter. I found it a really beneficial tool to use when she had my granddaughter. It actually helped us to manage our expectations and how to deal with possibly for when this baby, or we knew this baby was going to start to cry, what we were actually going to do. What we need to tell parents that we know it's okay to walk away if the baby's safe and the crying is getting to you, and after a few minutes you feel calmer, you can go back and check on your baby. I would like to reiterate another point that I always speak to with midwives as well. I know Ruth just said about 70% of men. I also say, with our midwives with newborn mothers, that 70% of men, but also that means then it's 70% of women, and we need to be mindful of women that women that have just had babies, when they can feel tired and actually become to a point where the baby's crying, that they possibly could cross that line. So it's really important that we highlight this in the antenatal period. Remember, a tired brain is not a learning brain, so we really need to do this timely with parents to have an understanding and an expectation of what they can possibly do for when the baby starts crying. Everybody knows their own coping mechanisms, they know their own support mechanisms and systems that are in place, so it's for them to make their individual plan. I think next slide please. Ways to cope with crying, and I think we've got a couple of slides, haven't we, on the next slide please.
Liz, do you want me to play the video?
Yes please. Are these videos going to be shown, please?
We'll attempt now.
Right.
Guys, if you can put in the chat for the ones watching, if you've got no audio on these because they take us to an external site, please let us know, and then we'll make the videos available to you.
Next slide, please. Is this for you now, Janice? Sorry.
No. No, Liz.
I'll finish off, Liz.
Right.
Thank you, Liz, for your presentation. I think those videos are extremely useful to show parents. And as Liz was saying, that permission to actually leave your child once you've tried all your baby, you've tried all the comforting methods, that is the trigger point that often has been identified as where parents do step over the line. So it's a safety mechanism for ensuring that parents feel that they're given the permission to actually, when they feel that they've got to that stage, that they're actually able to leave their baby safe, walk away for a few minutes, to try some of the relaxing techniques, and then go back to your baby. I think it was really important, the key messages that Liz has pointed out, that family and friends are a really extremely important part of that plan for parents to be able to have that reassurance from somebody, to then go back and to try and comfort baby again if baby is still crying. So those are very, very important messages. But as we say, there are a lot of resources on the ICON website that you can actually show parents that it is okay to away for those few minutes, and it might be that critical time that abusive head, the shaking the baby could have occurred. So very, very important. So the final slide before I pass over to Janice is how professionals can help parents, really, and those are very, very important messages that we need to keep reiterating to parents, and very much as a multi-agency. As Liz was saying, we know that parents can become very stressed at times, and that can be external factors within the family, domestic abuse, around neglect, etc. Families can be in chaos, and their needs are extremely high. So it's very important that our colleagues from social care, for police, from voluntary, do reiterate this consistent message around ICON at every contact they have with parents, because it's a consistent message which we haven't had before, that parents will become familiar with and will remember. As Janice said on Tuesday, one of her mums remembered the messages that she'd given her around ICON at the most critical time to help her to know what to do. And that's the most important thing. As Liz was saying, when you're tired, sometimes those rational sort of thoughts are not always in your mind, in your foremind. If you've got your plan in place, having it at hand, that's so important. I'll pass to Janice now before she introduces our colleague from the Lullaby Trust. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm Janice Bleasdale. I'm the Child Death Overview Panel Nurse. Just going back to the slide that Ruth has just been talking you through, it's important that parents understand that infant crying is normal, and everybody feels frustrated by baby crying. It's also really important to make every effort to engage with the dad male carer, and to encourage parents to share the information with anyone who's going to be caring for the baby, relatives, childminders, nannies, etc. The ICON leaflet and resources anticipate parents' anxiety and worries about their baby's health, and encourages them to seek advice if they are worried. Please direct parents to the crying plan that is now in the new PCHRs, or the Parent-Child Held Records. We do have, for the older versions that are still maybe in circulation, the inserts can now be found on the Warrington Trust ICON COPE resources page. We know that comfort methods help, and the resources provide information on when to seek emergency medical assistance too. The key message is that if a baby is well and all their basic needs are being met, they may still cry for what seems like no apparent reason. And if this is getting to you, your job is to recognise when you are feeling frustrated and cope, rather than trying to stop the crying. And it is okay to walk away for a few minutes, providing that the baby is safe and when the crying is getting to you. So we must ensure that we reinforce that message with parents. Please look at the Icon Cope site. If we go on to the next slide, and see the immense resources that are available for professionals and parents alike. These are updated regularly. Icon is also on the DadPad app too. Professionals and parents also contribute to a bi-monthly Icon newsletter that some of you may already have seen when it's been shared by the Children's Safeguarding Partnerships. The Pan Cheshire Icon partnership invested in posters, if we go on to the next slide, which are now displayed in key public areas in both the hospital and community settings. We've also had limited numbers of leaflets for the launch that were given out last year throughout the Pan Cheshire, but I think most of these are probably now exhausted, but they can be printed off now from the Warrington site, and these have been personalised to each area, so you just need to click in to the appropriate area that you're in, whether it be Cheshire East, Warrington, Halton or Cheshire West and Chester. And they've got the personal contacts for your area on the back for families that can direct parents to the contacts for the midwife, health visitors, children's social care, and also there are emergency numbers on the back too. Some professionals now are using QR codes and others now sending parents links, particularly during this COVID-19 pandemic, whereby professionals have been reducing paper resources. We note that we now also have preterm leaflets available on the Warrington platform too. These have been gestationally adjusted for preterm infants for professionals to give to parents. These give parents a better understanding of how and why their baby appears more unsettled on return home, and that they are not bad parents, it's just their baby's normal development. So next slide. You can see here that Icon also has a large social platform. Please, for all of you watching this now at this present time, please share these on your social media sites, so we can, on your public-facing social media sites. This is such an important programme that thankfully we had already embraced, and many of the frontline professionals across Pan Cheshire have now embedded into systems and practice before we were stricken by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has for some parents and carers been an extremely difficult time, suffering reduced support from friends, family, professionals, job losses, furloughs, school closures and homeschooling. It is also a simple message, memorable message, that infant crying is normal and you can cope. Right, if we can, here I'm just going to go on to the Lullaby Trust presentation here to introduce the this next presentation by the Lullaby Trust. If for those of you who are unaware, this week is actually Infant Safer Sleep Week. And Safer Sleep Week is the Lullaby Trust's national awareness campaign, which targets anyone looking after a baby. It aims to raise awareness of sudden infant death syndrome and the proven advice on how parents can reduce risk of it occurring. We know that great awareness of safer sleep leads to a decrease in the numbers of babies dying. Their Safer Sleep advice gives simple steps for how parents and carers can sleep their baby to reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, which is commonly known as cot death, although I don't like that term, because babies can die in any unsafe environment, not just a cot. It can give parents and carers the peace of mind to enjoy this special time. Their advice is based on strong scientific evidence and should be followed for all sleep periods, day and night. I would just like to add that the main message, as with the Icon message, is just keep it simple and keep babies safe. So if we can go on to the Lullaby Trust presentation, please.
Welcome to this presentation. My name's Cheryl and I'm Support and Training Officer at the Lullaby Trust. So who are the Lullaby Trust? The Lullaby Trust originally formed as the Foundation for the Study of Infant Deaths, or FSID, in 1971. This was following the death of baby Martin Charles de Selincourt in May 1969, and the organisation was founded by his grandmother. Unable to accept the sudden, inexplicable death of her healthy grandson, she gave Professor Camps £200 to hold a 2-day symposium at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge in April 1970. So the FSID worked with the Department of Health and other healthcare professionals to raise awareness of SIDS and how to reduce the number of sudden infant deaths. So the same as what we're doing 50 years later. We rebranded in 2013 as the Lullaby Trust, so a warmer, more compassionate name. Each year we do our Safer Sleep Week. This started in 2016, and of course we're in our Safer Sleep Week now. And we do a different theme each time. So this year you'll see the theme is around dads, but past themes have included young parents or products and co-sleeping. Alongside providing education and support to professionals in getting those safer sleep messages out there, we obviously provide bereavement support both to professionals and to families. We have our Care of Next Infant programme, CONI or CONI, and this again provides support for families during pregnancy and after birth, helping to reduce anxiety for them and allowing them to enjoy their first year of their baby's life. And we're really fortunate that our families raise lots of money which goes back into the charity in things like research or funding projects to be able to help those families further. The Lullaby Trust strategy then is secure annual reduction in the rate of SIDS, so making sure that the SIDS is still out there on the agenda and we're helping to reduce those numbers. Ensuring bereavement support is available to all families affected by sudden infant death at any time and with any baby born after bereavement, and committing to keep SIDS on the research and policy agenda. So back in 1991, the Back to Sleep campaign was launched and the rate of SIDS was reduced by over 80%. So around 20,000 babies' lives were saved. In 2018, SIDS claimed the lives of approximately 230 babies, so around 4 babies a week. And whilst we know that the risks reduce as the baby gets older, so after 6 months, for example, those risks reduce, we do still hear of babies between the ages of 12 to 24 months who die suddenly and unexpectedly. And in 2018, that number was 16. And again, we still don't know why this happens to those babies who are older. Our Safer Sleep information has saved many babies' lives. We have accurate information about how and where babies die and research that tells us how to prevent them from dying. And your role is crucial by talking to families and supporting them with understanding how to avoid the risks for their baby. By doing this, we can help to reduce the number of babies dying. So by following these 3 key messages, putting their babies on their back for every sleep, in a clear, flat sleep space, keeping them smoke-free day and night, we can help reduce dramatically the numbers of babies who die suddenly and unexpectedly. Before going through the advice, it's useful to consider how in your professional role you will deliver the safer sleep advice to families. We need to make sure we talk to all families, and we know it can sometimes be challenging. If they've had a baby already and they didn't follow the safer sleep advice, why would they perhaps follow it this time? Everything was okay the last time, but of course every baby, they need to follow the safer sleep advice. They may find that they're seeing from friends or on social media that these young babies are sleeping through the night and everyone is saying, oh, that's great, what a lovely baby, well done, what a good baby, they're sleeping all through the night. And of course it's absolutely normal for a baby to be waking and feeding frequently, and that's what we want. But it can be tricky for those families who think they maybe need to find some sort of solution to that to get their baby sleeping through the night, that perhaps they're doing something wrong because they can't get their baby to sleep through. And as I say, of course, it's perfectly normal. And signposting and sharing information with families and carers. Whilst at the moment we may not be able to see other members of our family, to share the childcare responsibilities, we still need to make sure that if that is possible, that they're all following the same safer sleep advice. So the things that we know we should be doing or can do, and they're probably the things that you talk to your families about on a daily basis, is making sure the baby is on their back for every sleep, day and night. They're in their own Moses basket or cot in their sleep space that's clear, on a firm, flat, waterproof mattress, so firm enough that the baby's head doesn't dip any more than a couple of millimeters, and a nice waterproof cover so we can wipe away any leaky nappies or sick that then won't sink down into that mattress and cause any bacteria. We need to make sure they're keeping them smoke-free during pregnancy and after birth. They're not getting too hot, so both the baby's not too hot and the room temperature isn't too hot, and that they're sleeping in the same room as their parent or carer for both daytime and nighttime sleep. And it's really important that we follow the advice consistently for all sleep periods. There is nothing that prevents SIDS from happening. We just need to make sure we do everything to reduce the risks and do it consistently. So the things then to avoid: never sleeping on a sofa or an armchair with the baby, because this can increase the risk by 50 times. And you can see in this picture, the baby's on its front, not on its back, potentially overheating from the adult that they're laying on. And of course, the adult is asleep in that situation as well. If we're bed sharing, there are times that everybody agrees we shouldn't bed share. So if there's alcohol, cigarettes, or any medication that's being used, then we wouldn't bed share. If the baby was premature or low birth weight, again, we wouldn't bed share in those situations. And we want to make sure that our bedding for the babies is not able to go up over their head. So tucked in if they're using sheets and blankets, with the baby's feet at the bottom of the cot. And if they're not using sheets and blankets and they're using a sleep bag, that sleep bag fits them properly. So again, they can't get it up over their heads. We know there are lots of different products on the market, and parents will often ask if it's okay for their baby to sleep in something. So we always ask the same things. Is it firm? Is it flat? Does the mattress have a waterproof cover? And can the bedding be firmly tucked in? With regard to British safety standards, these don't mean that a product helps reduce the chances of SIDS, but just guarantees a certain level of general safety. For example, won't fall apart or set fire easily. So always check the manufacturer's guidelines. Choosing what items their baby might need can be overwhelming for parents. So to help with this, we put together a product guide with information on how to choose the products or items their baby needs to reduce the chance of sudden infant death or SIDS, and what types of products they should avoid and what the marketing actually means. And this can be found and downloaded from our website. Other resources we have available include the Baby Check app. You may have seen this already and may use it, but it's a really useful tool for families. It goes through 19 simple checks and gives a score at the end. Obviously, if at the end of it it's a low score and they still want to go and seek medical advice, then of course they can do. And if it's telling them straight away to go to phone 999, then of course, you know, that's what they would do, not continue with the checks until they get to number 19. We rebranded our leaflets with the help of UNICEF and BASIS and Public Health England a couple of years ago. So looking at tips for safer bed sharing and guides for both professionals and parents. And these are available on our website to download and to buy. For families that want to get in touch with us, if that's through bereavement support that they want, then we answer the phones 365 days a year. We have help from our befrienders over holiday time. They can contact us on a free phone number. They can contact us via email. Twice a week we do a web chat on a Tuesday and a Thursday, so they can get in touch with us via that route if they want to. And sometimes they come through to us via Facebook. They want some advice on safer sleep. That's for professionals as well as for parents. Then they can call us, they can email us, and again, they can get in touch with us on Facebook. Every month we do a Facebook Live. So we're there answering those questions, and if we put posts on Instagram or Facebook, as I say, then people often will ask questions and we will answer those too. For the families that get in touch in terms of bereavement and wanting some support, then we can offer them these leaflets. These were originally written for parents themselves to pick up and to refer to, but often professionals will have copies themselves that they refer to, that they help families with if they are working with and supporting these families. And I mentioned Connie right at the start, so this provides support for bereaved parents with next babies. So facilitated by us, we have CONI coordinators in various areas. Unfortunately, we don't have them in every area of the UK like we would love to have. But if you are aware of a family who've had a baby who died suddenly and unexpectedly, and you're not sure if there's a CONI coordinator in your area, then of course you can get in touch with us, give us a call, drop us an email, and we can let you know whether that's possible to be able to offer them some extra support. Further information and other resources that we have include Safer Sleep presentations. So what we learned kind of from last year from the pandemic was obviously lots of health visitors, lots of health professionals were being deployed into other areas, and so Safer Sleep messages perhaps weren't getting out as much as they were before. So we produced these bite-sized, we call them, presentations for families to access. So again, you can access them, you can pass them on to colleagues, you can pass them on to families to watch. I think the longest one is about 13 minutes, but it's broken down into different sections like smoking or breastfeeding, temperature, etc., sleep position. So they can watch them and they can get that safer sleep advice that way too. We have a text reanimation that was produced as well. So again, just helping to make sure that we can get these messages out to everybody, that we're not excluding anybody who perhaps English isn't their first language or there are literacy issues for a family. So this was produced with an aim for everybody to be able to understand our Safer Sleep messages. And again, it's on our website. You can access it, you can share it, you can pass it on, no problem at all. And it's just really important that, you know, we all keep giving these Safer Sleep messages out there, keep continuing to bring those numbers down, and making sure that those families have access to that Safer Sleep message to help them make these decisions that are right for them and their family. So it just remains me to say thank you very much. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions or want to get in touch with me, you can do via training@lullabytrust.org.uk. But thank you ever so much for your time.
Thank you, Cheryl. While looking at O as part of the ICON today, we've presented 2 prevention programmes that are very much linked to the safety for babies and giving parents that consistent messages around how to manage those very important issues of safe sleep and when they're feeling distressed by their babies crying. We've looked at resources, and there's a wealth of resources available, not only for ICON, but also for safe sleep. In Cheshire, we deliver the Safe Sleep alongside our ICON because we see the link that parents need for those sort of reassuring messages, really, of the things that they're doing are right and important to keep their baby safe. Thank you all for listening. If you have any questions for either ourselves or for Cheryl from the Lullaby Trust, please, if you could pop them in the chat, we will endeavour to answer them for you. Thank you very much again.
No questions as of yet, they're very quiet.
Thanks, Gina.
Can I just say to anybody who's still listening in at the moment that if you go onto the Birmingham Children's NHS Trust site, there's some excellent resources for videos for infant safe sleep. So do feel free to use them. You know, they're quite happy that we share them far and wide. We did send some out in newsletters later at the end of last year, and I think again earlier this year. But if you haven't come across them, do log on to the Birmingham Children's NHS Trust site and you know, pull those videos. Are excellent.
Thanks, Janice. That's useful information.
Okay, we've got a question from Sam. I'm sorry, I entered late due to nursery provision running over. Can you send me a link to access the resources? Yes, Sam, if you drop your email onto the response that you've just put, we will send you a link to the resources after the event. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions, so I just wanted to say thank you to Janice and Ruth and Elizabeth for today. If you have any further questions, you're very welcome to drop whh.communications@nhs.net an email after this, and we'll make sure it gets to Janice, Ruth and Elizabeth.
Thanks, Gina. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Bye.